Hi guys, Vincent here from Southside Korero. Um, just going to give you a brief introduction to Micah Sili. She's the student council president from MIT. She's gone through a lot of things in terms of COVID. She's a student nurse, so she's been through a lot of changes, especially from the first lockdown, as well as importantly. What her students went through. So they also did a lot of fun things, such as the vaccine spots and all sorts of things. So she'll be discussing that with me as well as her personal journey. So please join us as we go through the interview with myself and Micah Sili. This is Southside Korero. Enjoy. Hello, welcome to Southside Korero. My name is Vincent Tyrone Vitalina. You got to know my full name because it's pretty much you're telling our stories here in Otara. I have a lovely guest right here, the MIT Student Council president, and as well as advocate for all those ITPs out in Auckland as well. Micah Sili. I got that last name right, Sili? Is that
That's
right?
Yes.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Bright smile. That's what I noticed about you. You always got a bright smile, and that I think that's why most of the students have voted for you, because you got that bright smile and just warm and welcoming.
Whatever you're selling me after this, I will buy it.
Look, I will sell you some pisu, and that's it.
Sounds good.
Awesome. So straight into it. So I know that you're a student of nursing as well, and last year was hard for you in terms of nursing and going through your placements and whatnot. But you've been in Middlemore. I know that you've been in the wards. So during a lockdown period and during those times, what was it like being in a ward like in Middlemore? Well, during COVID, during a lockdown.
Yeah, definitely. With the first lockdown last year, everything was up in the air, and for the safety of the public and for our institute and our students, a lot of our nursing students were actually stood down from their clinical placements. And so what that meant was that we needed to find another way to make up those clinical hours. Otherwise, there'll be another delay to the degree. Fortunately, they allowed us to get some of our hours online through an online learning package. And then once it was able to, we could go back out and collect what hours was left along with that clinical experience. With this year's lockdown, a lot of differences now. So we may have learned from the first lockdown, but the Delta variant has kind of given a different, a bit more of a really difficult road to kind of map out for nursing students. The best thing about it, though, is that we are being taught to vaccinate. So a lot of our nursing students are now vaccinators at our vaccination hubs. They're also part of the COVID swab teams. So what it's done is it's actually opened up a lot of work opportunities for our nursing students that we otherwise would not have been open to had we just been in our usual clinical placement.
Yeah,
so that's a big bonus, yeah. But what that also means is that because we are in South Auckland, we know a lot of the cases are coming from our communities. So that limits a lot of our placements again. And so there's only so much vaccinations hub you can put MIT students in on top of the other institutes who have nursing programs. Yeah. Bit of a juggling at the moment. And it's a bit of a staggered approach in terms of letting our students back out onto the field. But it was difficult in the beginning, more so now with the new variant. It's opened a few more opportunities, but definitely the difficulty has changed. So the previous approach hasn't been working. So we're trying to create a framework that takes the learnings from last year, but kind of adapts it to the environment that we have now.
Yeah. So you're saying that MIT students were being placed into vaccine spots. So tell me, were you in one of those vaccine spots? And what was it like being in those vaccine spots? Because I bet you there was a lot of animosity as well as anxiety, especially with something that's like, okay, it has been case proven, but we haven't been in this sort of situation in terms of this major rollout, a call to arms in terms of just please get yourself vaccinated for the safety of those who are around you. So
Exactly.
For those students, how did it feel with going out there?
So for the best thing about nursing is that we're taught to be evidence-based. We trust the science and we follow the government's mandate. That is literally our role in terms of what we can do for the public health and delivering those health services. So for a lot of our students, we did understand that. I was quite fortunate. My placement prior to lockdown, I was at the Mount Wellington vaccination hub. So I was already in there. And I was there when the first case occurred. So I was in the observation area for after you get a vaccine, the waiting area where we just make sure that there's no adverse reactions, that you're being taken care of within those first 20 minutes prior to leaving. And that's when the news came through that we have a Delta variant case within our community. So we worked really quickly. Thank God, amazing site manager, great clinical lead who shut down the kind of gridlocked that vaccination hub until we could get all our patients out. And then we were able to plan what's going to happen during this level 4. And frankly, this level 4 has put a lot of pressure on our healthcare system. I think a lot of people don't really put a lot of thought because they're not having that first-hand experience with it. And so a lot of the rhetoric that comes from anti-vaxxers and those who aren't actually reading the right information comes from a place of privilege because their people are not the ones who will be affected by the effects of COVID. And I guess, the Spanish flu pandemic, a century ago, they completely forgot the effect. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And our Pacific community, again, were, heavily affected along with our Māori counterparts. So we have to take these historical learnings, and that's what we've applied for this COVID. But because it hasn't been really taught throughout our schools and hasn't really been mandated in quite some time, it's a shock to people. And, it really challenges their sense of control, hence why they're so rigid in their stances that they have.
Absolutely. There's just this whole need to guideline a lot of things because we as a society have this bridge gap between multiple cases of medical history of just viral going really bad, but then you go back to even the early stages of like I had a conversation with Michelle Dickinson, who was a lovely doctor, by the way. We had a conversation about her talking about Ebola and it was like a different variant of what it was, and it was like you're comparing apples to pears pretty much. But you're preparing a community basically in a society to arm itself, and that's the best way of doing it is to educate them. And coming back to a conversation that we had last year, and I'm sorry to go into the very disgusting, very nitty-gritty, but it's the realism of it is that a lot of stigma coming back to our community because we need to hear this side of things. And we need to basically, in ways of just discussing on strategies to empowering our people and letting them know that vaccines are important. So the reason why I'm talking about this is that you had an incident that happened last year with MIT, a student that had been caught out because of being sadly had caught the coronavirus. What are your thoughts when it comes to that sort of witch hunt? I'm sorry to say it's pretty much the witch hunt. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, it definitely is the witch hunt, and it was really, really affecting that student and that whole cohort and MIT as a whole, because I think a lot of our students come to MIT and a lot of people don't really acknowledge the stereotype that MIT has. It's something that we kind of just push to the back of our minds. But now with our students, with that one case, we became guilty by association. And we all know how the media likes to target South Auckland. And they really came down hard on MIT. And it wasn't just through the media, but actually on social media forums. And a lot of our students who they're experiencing family who are like, oh, you're from MIT, you've got COVID too. Like, they were trying to navigate this new kind of stigma attached to it.
Absolutely,
so It was definitely very, very difficult. And back to what you were saying about we have to educate our people about the importance of vaccine. I think if you didn't know that New Zealand has very poor health literacy. I think we're ranking about 56.2% have very poor health literacy. That's half our nation.
Yeah.
And that's something is what's contributing to why there is a lack of understanding, but also the fact that our Ministry of Health, prior to 2 months ago, haven't really been delivering that information in a way that our priority communities like Māori, disabilities, and Pacifica can understand, and in a platform that we listen to.
Absolutely.
It's one thing for Jacinda and Bloomfield and all these health professionals, but we want to hear it from our churches. We want to hear it from our community leaders and those who we have put our trust into to give us that information.
Absolutely. And I give the government props for actually going out and going, yes, I like to shout out to the pastor that was in the Mangere, who's rallying all our people to come in there. It's amazing. We want to hear more, because it's the thing. If you want to rally a whole bunch of people, you rally behind the positivity that are granted to something that's happening right there and there. You're not going to get anything if you're just going to go, okay, here's numbers, statistics, roles. You got to change it. It's not it's like someone said it before, it's not like a Cinderella overnight thing. You know what I mean? It's like you got to change the influence over time, and every step and every word that you say will basically change the outcome of someone's mind and how they think. So going back to your students and going back to MIT and just vaccines on a whole, what are you? So in terms of students and nursing students, they themselves are doing vaccinations. How do you think they feel in terms of getting the vaccinations themselves and yourself?
I'm fully vaccinated. A lot of us are, and it's now a requirement for us if we want to go back into placement to be fully vaccinated for the protection, obviously, of our communities when we go out there. At the beginning, this is a new vaccine, and it has to be acknowledged that there's a lot of hesitancy with a new vaccine. We've got to learn about it. But as you said, it's about how that information is delivered, especially to that targeted audience, because nursing students, of course, will have a higher understanding of what the vaccine is about, how it affects the body, how it's going to protect us. For those in our community, we need to deliver the information in a way that's digestible for them. I can't go to them and be like, oh, so your immune system will create T cells, and these T cells are going to form a protection over you. We can't do that. We have to go to them and be like, okay, listen, if this COVID-19 Delta variant hits our communities, we will be the first ones to be directly into the ICU and the hospital, because we live in overcrowded homes, therefore it spreads faster.
Absolutely.
We have a lot of comorbidities. We have the highest rates, Māori and Pacifica, for cardiovascular disease, diabetes, and all that stuff, asthma, bronchiolitis. And these things contribute to how effective that virus will grow within you. And that's a lot of things that they don't actually take into factors in terms of their understanding. To them, it's just like, this is a new vaccine. Oh, what happened to my herbal remedies? They haven't had to have a vaccine given to them. And I think we also need to address that. A lot of people don't like needles, at all.
I agree. Yeah. Myself and my boss, her name is Judy, we went as buddies to go take our first shots.
Yeah.
She was terrified of needles, and we were just like, okay, fair enough. I will look at you while you take your jab, and you look at me, and we'll just talk to each other. Just find a way just to basically block out the idea. So I had a conversation with her, and she goes, "Is that it?" And I go, "Yeah, you're only taking it. That's it. Done." Yeah. And it's taking that mindset of the fear of everything and going, you're just talking to your friend, and we're doing the best that we can as a community to arm ourselves.
Yeah,
so that's the best way of doing it. going back to what you said earlier, and also Michelle Dickinson also said that as well, is that we need to find a way to communicate the science, because I had difficulty understanding what was inside the vaccine. I'm not gonna lie. I'm like, the big words, no good. I do not understand this jargon. But
no, it's not just you. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm just thinking, if it's just not only just me, but everyone else who's going for these vaccines, it goes back to how we have a lot of people who are on the fence. You know what I mean? Who are basically undecided on what to do. And Michelle was basically, when she came on, had broke it down to basic, simple words that we could understand. Not dumbing it down, but just coming out to a level so we can understand.
Exactly, and that's what we need to make sure that people understand. We're not dumbing down the information for you. No, it's just a different format, because we understand that, you know, you haven't done 3 intensive years into medicine first thing. And that has to be like shown to them. And back to what you were saying about people being afraid of needles, that's across the board, and more so for South Auckland and Māori and Pacific. And what I found best when I was vaccinating, when I was out of the vaccination hub, was if I came in, I'll talk to you and I'll be like, okay, my name is Micah, I'll be your vaccinator today. Before we even start, what concerns do you have? Are you scared of needles?
Yeah.
So I talk you through the process, and then I'll be like, okay, so this is the Pfizer vaccine. You get this much dosage. These are the expected symptoms, and this is what you can do if you expect those symptoms, okay? And then before I even give you the vaccine, I will tell you, okay, because you're scared of needles, look away, put on a video on your phone, watch a Netflix episode, play a song, whatever you're comfortable with. Yeah. And you let me know which arm you're comfortable and you want, and then we'll go from there. So it's about establishing from the get-go, once you're in that vaccination center, that kind of safety around allowing them to be themselves and do what's comfortable for them, in order to ensure that I'm doing my job as safely as possible for you.
Absolutely. And I think that's the overarching, not overarching, but more of like the small percentage of what does need to be said in terms of how things are felt, and how, you know, when it comes to someone taking the vaccine for the first time. And I honestly think that having someone like yourself who's very comforting and has been through those sort of things would be beneficial to those who are going for their first times. We almost hit that threshold of 2 million on our second dosage. So I'm in that group. Oh, hell yeah, I'm in that group. I want all our, as Auntie Jacinta has said, I want my other team members to go into that list of, yeah, we did it. We're part of the team now.
Yeah, so, definitely.
Yeah. So going to your experience of it, because I asked Michelle as well, how was it like when you got your first jab? Because we talked about everyone else, but I want to go back to you.
So the mass vaccination event, the MIT held for our community and their family in collaboration with the DHV, that was something quite big. You know, so that's where I decided to have my first vaccination there, because I felt as a student leader, if I wanted the student population to be part of this, you know, I kind of have to back the talk up.
Lead by example, right?
Exactly, yeah. From the front, not from the back, yeah.
Hey.
So definitely, I got it there. It was a great experience there. Fantastic team and fantastic strategy for how to deal with like 15,600 people in that 3-day period. Yeah. So that was quite cool. I found the process really quick and easy. I guess people kind of build it up. That's going to be this long injection, right?
Yeah. It's like a long needle.
Yeah. But it's just, like this long and that's it. Yeah. But no, it's not. It's actually quite quick, couple of seconds. And then you're just waiting for that 20 minutes and then you're good to go.
Absolutely.
But sad though, because at the moment, a lot of great initiatives going out with KFC and Pack and Save vouchers, and
I know, right?
For that.
I was about to say, I saw one with Pack and Save, and I'm like, why did I not get it later? Like all these deals are just coming out. but like John teaches us to say, don't wait until December. Get it done as soon as possible. That's the importance of it.
Yeah, yeah.
So when I got my vaccination, I was like, cool, I got that done. There's a bit of side effects within the 2 days. With your recovery days, how did it feel from those onwards? After the first or even the second, after your first or
quite
second.
Good. Yeah, the first one. Oh my gosh, I had such a really big nap right after it. They did say fatigue was one of the symptoms, and that hit me really hard. Yeah. But other than I didn't have a headache or anything, but I did make sure to always keep Panadol on hand and stay hydrated. And it was similarly for the second dose. They usually say if you didn't experience symptoms the first time, you won't experience it the second time.
Absolutely.
But just being mindful, yeah.
Yeah, I witnessed it on the first half. I couldn't do this.
Yeah.
I couldn't do this. I wasn't flexible. I was like,
trying to figure it out.
Yeah, I was like trying to figure this out. I was like, no, it's not this arm. Like I didn't get my dominant arm, so I was just
Yeah.
But that second jab, I was like, all right, cool. I haven't done anything. Sweet. It's all sorted. I'm all good.
Yeah, yeah.
So we're gonna just wrap up a little bit. We're gonna wrap up soon. So I'm gonna always lead up with 2 questions and then lead with the big ones. So with all of this rollout, this importance of rollout, what do you want to see in the near future in terms of the government and their goals of rolling out the vaccine, especially here in Otara? Because it's an affected area as well.
Yeah, definitely. And I know that there was a special request for those in Clover Park, was it? That's you, eh? Yeah. So the vaccine buses there was actually part of a forum I was in with the Ministry for Pacific Peoples. So what I want to see is actually happening right now, and that is with collaboration with community leaders and having vaccine rollouts that are adaptive to the communities that they're actually serving. Yeah. So we found with those in Clover Park, it might be best to send out the shot bro buses. Well, I think we called it the shot cars.
Oh, really?
Yeah, definitely. And then with the Tongan community, they rolled it out through the churches by during Tongan Language Week. So that's what we want to see, these adaptive theories that, adaptive rollouts, that they're doing at the moment, especially Niue Tokelau. They finished that rollout last week during their language week. Yeah. And Fijian language week is this week, and they're doing the same with the Fijian community. Yeah, so they become more adaptive, and what we found is that they're much more, they're listening more to their community and to the ideas that they have that best suits the people they serve. And so the KFC idea was actually part of the meetings that we were in. We were like, why aren't you will be having it at this venue here, Vodafone Event Centre? KFC's right next to it. Why not? and it's about these out of norm ideas, because the previous ideas were very westernized, and we need it to be adaptive to modern Pacific in order to get those equitable outcomes.
Absolutely. It also, I like to see that going forward, the whole reward system, and I see it as a good reward system. The appeal of it pretty much brings out a lot of people. Like, not to be stingy, but I would go out for KFC, to be honest.
Yeah, definitely. We do need to, for our communities, we're time poor. You need to tell me why I need to be there, because my time is constrained to work, family, my own study commitments. So why should I add extra fuel and money and time to something that perhaps I could get at a later date? So it's about convincing them that they actually need to get it now. And it's really important, and it doesn't really matter how we get them there, because the vaccine is the most important thing and effective method we have to protect our communities.
Absolutely. I'm going to take an example from America, from one of the states. I do believe they had started a lottery. So X amount of vaccines had been done. You would be part of the lottery, and you get at least, I think it was like $1 million. So that appeal was there, and I'm seeing it slowly being developed here in New Zealand, which is good, because I'm going to take an example. If I was a father of 3, I don't have time. I don't have time. I don't have that 10 minutes is vital for me to go look after my child, or that 10 minutes is me being an essential worker, right? And I'm going to do the work, the mahi that I need to provide for my children. I don't have time to stand in a line. So to have those initiatives like the drive-throughs, and like the shop bros, that's an amazing. And I agree with you that we need those initiatives to go forward, and that's perfectly how perfectly it needs to be done. I also believe that there is a need of student nurses to be manning those, because in a way, not only are they getting the experience, but I believe that it's a human side of things. Yes, you have an expert there, but those students are also learning as well as the person who's there getting the shots. So from the bottom of my heart, to not only nurses that are on station in every not every hotel, because I can say that because they've got COVID hotels, as well as hospitals and out there in the field. Thank you so much for being vital in bringing New Zealand together and keeping it running. So thank you so much for that hard work.
Oh, I'll take one for the team and say no worries. But I'll pass it on to the student forums. And like you said, I think some of the best things that I've seen so far is some of our students are actually at marais. And we're not just doing vaccination drive-thrus or COVID swabs, we're actually packing food packages as well, and delivering it. So there's a lot of opportunity for more collaboration with our community. And like you said, we have to get methods that aren't actually the norm, because the norm's out of the window since COVID hit.
Absolutely. You started the start of the year, it was slow, but now we got the ball running. Let's try and make it innovative for ways of just trying to get our people, as well as everyone else in New Zealand, to be a part of our team.
Yeah, exactly.
So final question, or second to last question, and I'll go into other things. I asked this, asked this to Michelle Dickinson, what are your 3 advice that you'd like to give to those in our community? So everywhere in New Zealand, what are your 3 golden advice that you would like to give in terms of lockdown? What would to keep them going, pretty much? I like to hear different perspectives, and advice is golden during these times. So what are your 3 golden advice that you like to give out?
Definitely. 1, get vaccinated. Top priority there, get vaccinated. 2,
your mic's up. You're muted. 1 second.
Oh, there we are. Sorry.
All right, so that's all right. We'll start this over again. So we'll cut it, and then we'll go for it. So
awesome.
So 3, 2, 1, and all right. So going into the final part of our conversation, what are your 3 golden advice? I asked this to Michelle Dickinson, and she gave an amazing advice. And I always like to hear advice from everyone, because it's basically, last week was Mental Health Awareness Week, by the way, just to point that out. These are times that we need to hear this advice, because anything is golden. So what are your 3 golden advices that you could give to us?
3 golden advices. Number 1, get vaccinated. That's the top one on the list for me.
Yes.
Get vaccinated, protect your family, protect your community, and let's get out of this lockdown as soon as possible. Advice number 2, a lot of people are finding it difficult to connect. Start with games. Online games, so many out there on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. That's the best way. If you don't know how to connect and you haven't spoken to someone before, just be like, hey, you want to play a game of Kahoot? Or let's just break the ice with that and go from there, because that's the best way that I found to stay a bit more livelier.
Absolutely,
lockdown. Yeah. And 3rd advice, go for a walk, get outside. Yeah. These 4 walls can get pretty dusty and boring after a bit. So definitely get some fresh air, and maybe go to a farm, look at an animal's eyes, tell her what you like. That's what I did.
Well, I technically have a farm. I have a cat. It normally tries to scratch me.
But that
hurts.
Love. Yeah.
It's love. But definitely, again, thank you so much. My final question, I said that was my final question the last time, but I can't count. Where can we find you? Do you have any sort of social media and presence that we can find you? And what sort of plug that you want to give out to, especially if it's MIT or whatnot? The floor is yours.
Yes, so I do have a student president email, but I am coming to the end of my role now. We're currently going through student council elections.
Shucks.
And so we'll be doing the transitioning over for whoever gets nominated within November. But you can find me on my Instagram handle, Micah/Leta, Leta. So I'm starting to post a bit more on social media because now we've got time with lockdown.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, so definitely find me on Instagram, find me on Facebook. I'm also on LinkedIn. So those are the best 3 ways to get connected with me. Otherwise, Vinnie, you know my number and stuff like that. So hit him up.
Again, thank you so much. And again, I want to say this out. I want to stress this out because this is an important time to say it. And there's been strikes and protests for it, and I want to say it because it's truth. I want to share truth in this podcast. Thank you so much for being a beacon of hope to those who are in need. That goes out to nurses, student nurses, doctors, and that medical field, and then going out to your position as well as an education leader for those students who have no voices. It's vital to have those voices out there for not only for our communities but for outreaching those who are still in education. So again, thank you so much.
Oh, thank you so much, Vinnie. That was beautiful. I'll try. I really do appreciate your kind words.
Don't worry.
I really love this podcast. That was awesome. Love to be back again.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. And
I love that.